Today on Who is That Saint? We meet the man who shaped saints, scared kings, and got locked in jail for preaching too well. His name is Saint John of Ávila, and if you've never heard of him, don't feel bad. He's one of the most powerful, least famous doctors of the church you'll ever meet. He was a preacher, a mystic, a theologian, and the spiritual director behind some of Spain's greatest saints. Born in 1499 in Almodóvar del Campo, Spain, John came from a wealthy, devout family. He was smart, brilliant in fact, and studied law in Salamanca before realizing God was calling him to something deeper. He went home, gave away his inheritance, lived like a hermit for a while, and then pursued the priesthood. He was ordained around age 30 and prepared to set sail for the New World to evangelize the Americas. But a bishop heard him preach a single sermon and said, "You're not going anywhere. Spain needs you more." So John of Ávila stayed. What followed was one of the most explosive preaching careers in Catholic history. John's sermons were electric, intensely theological, unapologetically moral, and laser-focused on the love and mercy of God. He called out vice in the nobility. He wept for sinners. He pleaded for conversion. And he didn't water it down for anyone. The Spanish Inquisition noticed. After preaching a particularly fiery sermon on greed and hypocrisy, he was accused of heresy and thrown in prison. Now he wasn't guilty. In fact, the accusations were nonsense. But the process was slow, and during his year in jail he didn't pout. He wrote. He wrote letters. Dozens of them. Full of advice, warnings, corrections, and encouragement. These letters became spiritual lifelines to young priests, nobles, and future saints. He later compiled them into books, and his wisdom spread far beyond his prison cell. Eventually, the Inquisition cleared him. He returned to public ministry with even more fire. He traveled across Andalusia, preaching parish missions and confronting sin with gentleness and truth. He built seminaries, reformed clerical education, and worked closely with laypeople to build a culture of spiritual renewal. His nickname? The Apostle of Andalusia. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't political. He was just holy and relentless. And saints followed him. He became the spiritual director to Saint Teresa of Ávila, who credited him with shaping her Carmelite reform. Saint John of God, founder of the Brothers Hospitallers. Saint Francis Borgia, who became a Jesuit general. And Blessed Peter of Alcántara, a Franciscan mystic. You know how powerful you have to be for Saint Teresa of Ávila to say you taught her something? Yeah. His most famous written work, Audi Filia, Listen, O Daughter, was a spiritual guide originally written for a young noblewoman but became a widely respected work of mystical theology. In it he spoke of God's love not as an idea but as a fire that consumes the soul, purifies it, and transforms it. He emphasized interior conversion, detachment, and union with God through Christ. He wasn't afraid to speak directly and call people out. But he never gave up on them either. He once said, "He who truly desires to advance in perfection must take care to receive correction and be thankful for it." He knew what he was talking about, he lived it. John of Ávila died on May 10, 1569, in peace and humility. His legacy was so profound that hundreds of years later, Pope Benedict XVI declared him a doctor of the Church, one of only 37 in history. Why? Because his writing, preaching, and direction formed not just good people, but saints. And here's what makes him matter today. He lived in a time of cultural upheaval, religious confusion, and political corruption. Sound familiar? He didn't whine about the state of the church. He reformed it, from the inside out. He built up clergy. He supported religious communities. He told the truth to power. And he suffered for it without bitterness. Saint John of Ávila is a saint for anyone who feels like they're working in obscurity. For preachers who are tired. For teachers who feel unheard. For reformers getting slammed by the very people they're trying to help. He reminds us that fire doesn't need applause. It needs fuel. Quote of the day. To aspire to great things is not pride. It is not pride to aim at becoming like the saints. Pride is to remain below what we are called to. Saint John of Ávila.